In the previous video tutorial, you were shown how to adjust the properties of the forms, the buttons and the text box which appear on them. And as you can see, in readiness for this tutorial, I've actually done a bit of editing, a bit of properties, settings, that is, to make it look the way it is. One thing I didn't show you, this text box, I'm not too fussed on having this border style around it. So if I just click on it, and where it says border style, I'm just going to change that to none. And then when I click away from it, you can see it's got rid of it. Another nice thing in terms of formatting, in terms of laying things out in a nice, neat and tidy way, as I kind of move the button around, I actually want it to be parallel, well, it is parallel with the text box, but in line with the right hand side of it. As you can see, that blue line appears then, and it kind of locks onto it, so I can kind of adjust it and put it in the place I want it to go. Now, the point of this little project, this program, is for me to be able to click on a submit button which we've got selected, and some text then to appear in the text box. And we're also going to play around with things like hovering over the button and taking the cursor off the button as well. So to get to the point of being able to code an object, if I just double click on it, it will take me to this where it's kind of set up ready now then for us to actually put some code in. So just to explain what this is, public class example is the name of our form, so it's basically the code in, and it's the end, public class example end class, that's the beginning and end of the code. And we've also got this sub procedure, private sub, button one click. So when we click on the button, or button one dot click over here on the right hand side, whatever code we actually put into this area here will be carried out, and then it will end, so it ends the sub procedure. Before we actually start doing any coding, just to point out, you can see where it says button 1 here on the left hand side. If I click on that, it actually shows the objects which are within the form I've created, so text box 1, button 1, which we're currently on, and I can actually change this as well to be something else. So rather than clicking on the button, if something else is, if the cursor has done something else on the button, for example, hovering over it. But we'll come back to that point in a second. Now, what I'd like to do is when I click on the button, I want text to appear in the text box. And to make that happen, I'm just going to start typing out the name of the text box. And this icon here then indicates that that's the name there, text box 1, and it was also up here as well. And you can see the icon matches when I clicked on the drop down, that was. Now I could type it out if I wanted to, or I could just double click on it if I didn't want to be typing. And I want to set the text, so I'm going to put a full stop and then type in text. And again, look, it actually shows us what we can particularly do, so we could even align the text and do various things as well. So I want to put the text, and inside inverted commas, and it actually put the second one in for me, I'm going to type in what I want to appear. So stop pressing me. And if I just run that now then, so I think the coding's right. You tend to get things underlined and if the syntax isn't quite right or something doesn't quite make sense. But obviously when you run the program, if it's not coded properly, it won't actually get to the point of running or doing the job you want it to do. So if I actually click on the button, the submit button, what should happen, like it shows us on our code, that text within the speech marks will appear in this text box. So when I press submit, stop pressing me appears. Great, job done, it works. Now I actually, rather than kind of that popping up to say stop and pressing me, I want to kind of warn someone as well, as in to say when the cursor goes over that button, maybe something will appear in the text box as well. So where it says click, I'm gonna go and find hover or mouse hover. As you can see, there's various different things which you can code in terms of the action of the mouse to trigger this particular part of the code. We get another sub procedure appearing. It's pretty much identical to what's there at the top, but instead of click it says mouse over, dot mouse over as well. And this time I want to set the text box to don't press me. And we'll test that now as well. Okay, so if I run it, and what should happen when it loads up, when I hover over that button, text should appear like it does. And so basically that procedure there has been called because I've hovered over the mouse, I've triggered this particular procedure off, and if I click on it, it should then trigger this one at the top here because I will be clicking on the button, and then it says stop pressing me. And then the last bit of coding I want to do, just to kind of make well, not make sense, but it's just the way I'm built. I'd like it so when the mouse actually leaves the button, it sets the text box back to empty. So rather than typing it out at time and time again, I can then copy and paste the text, or the syntax, the codes, into this area. And like I said, when the mouse leaves the text box, I actually want it to present nothing. Now I can't leave that blank as in no speech marks. You still need to put speech marks there to indicate that's the string, that's the text which will appear inside that text box. So last time then, if I run this, and we should have a number of different things happening. So when I hover over it, it says don't press me. When I leave it, it goes blank. And when I click on it, stop pressing me, and so on. So it's actually triggering off those 3 bits of code, those 3 sub-procedures which we've programmed here.